Hey, this is Mike.
And Tom.
We are here in a reasonably kind of sunny Manchester. We are here to do the Manchester half.
Which we've just done.
We've just done, and which we've done with Puma. We have been testing a bunch of different kits. We've got, shoes-wise, a Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. I've also been testing the Apple Watch Series 10 against the new Apple Watch Ultra 2 in its kind of black edition as well too. We're going to tell you how we got on, how the shoes have fared for us, and let you know how we found the Manchester half.
No, let's go and get in the warm.
Yeah. Right, Manchester half done. We are feeling a little bit better. Got out of the chill and ready to kind of debrief on Manchester half. So maybe we'll talk about the race first. Tom, your first Manchester half. How did you find it?
It's my first ever race in Manchester. I actually used to live in Manchester, but long before I started running. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I've heard people talking about really cold races, really wet, windy races, but today was absolutely perfect. It was probably about 10 degrees, hardly any wind. Course was one of my favourite half marathon courses. It was pretty flat. There's a few little hills, but they're not really anything to worry about, and you do get a little nice downhill afterwards. And the roads are really wide. Reminded me of like Spanish races where you don't have to worry about little funneling sections. It's just you get loads of space to run. So really enjoyed it. Thought it was a really nice race. Crowds are, it's half marathon in Manchester. They're not massive, so if you come to do the race because you want crowd lining every street, you won't get that here because it's not that busy. But everything else, organisation was fine. Had no issues at start. Had no issues at the finish. Plenty of water for a half marathon.
Just so you know, we're in Manchester.
Yeah, just wanted to show off the tram system. All in all for me, thought it was an absolutely great day out. Really enjoyed it. Great organisation, and very pleased with my time.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second time I've done Manchester half. I did it last year, and I agree with Tom. I think first and foremost, it's a nice, quick course, and as we kind of spoke afterwards, there's a couple of slightly elevated bits, but ultimately, like you said, you're rewarded with those kind of quite immediate downhill bits. Yeah. And it's nice, quick conditions. Yeah, it was definitely still cold, but definitely not as chilly as the last time I did it. But I think ultimately, it's kind of the conditions you want to be in. You want to have a good go. And I was pretty happy with my time given very limited training. I did 1:29, which was quicker than the last time.
By that.
Yeah, it was quicker than the last time I did it. So very happy with that. Tom, how did you get on with your debut Manchester half?
My debut Manchester. Well, I haven't raced properly for a good, I think, must be 5 or 6 months. Since the Boston-London fiasco. And I have started training for Valencia about 3-4 weeks ago, so didn't know what to expect. If I'd got 1:35, I wouldn't have been surprised. I got 1:25, but I felt pretty comfortable during it. I think I could probably get a 1:23 if I wanted to at the moment. So that bodes very well for my PB attempt in Valencia, because when I've been doing the training runs and running at my Valencia pace, I've been thinking, Christ, there's no way I can run this pace. But today I ran that pace, so feeling pretty good, pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, so I think we're pretty happy in terms of how the races went. Next, we'll get into that all-important kit that we were testing. So we're going to get into the kit that we tested now. The big one, obviously, was the shoes. So we were both wearing the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. I actually ran, last time I ran Manchester half, I ran in the Deviate Nitro Elite 2. Really liked it. I think my overriding feeling was that it was just missing a little something in terms of that pop. And now I have done a fair amount of running. I've raced shorter distances in the Deviate Nitro Elite 3. I really liked that distance. It didn't lose. It had that kind of lovely kind of, responsive feeling you want from a kind of carb racing shoe. It's lovely and light, and it just rolls through really nicely, and I felt like it was very consistent, and I felt very controlled in that shoe. And I feel like it is, for me, it's up there with those kind of top tier shoes for me, and it's a massive upgrade from the previous shoe. How did you find it, Tom?
Loved it. So I've only done I've done quite a few sessions in the 3, but I've not raced. I did one race in at 10k earlier in the year when I wasn't very fit, and I enjoyed it then. Thought it was really good, comparable carbon plate shoe of some of the best ones out there. I've raced in the previous version before, and what I found about those versions is that they were fine, they were responsive, but they didn't have a lot of bounce, or they didn't feel like a modern carbon plate shoe to me. This one does. It feels like you're really getting a lot of efficiency gains. Feels like you're bouncing along a bit. It definitely feels that you're getting a little bounce in combination with that carbon plate. And yeah, it felt absolutely great today. I think it's a shoe that if you were looking at top tier carbon plate racers now and thinking, right, I'm going to buy one for my marathon, my half marathon. Previously, I wouldn't have put in the Puma Deviate Elite 1 and 2, but now I would. I think it's definitely a good option there. I think a lot of people are going to like it, and it just felt great for me today. It felt like I could maintain a really nice pace. It felt like the shoe was helping me, and yeah, it's a success. A successful run in the shoe for me.
How does it compare to the other shoes that you would typically say, if I'm doing this race, this is the shoe that I would probably be using if I wasn't using the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 today?
So my racing generally comes down to the Alphafly 1. I have used the 3 quite a bit recently, not a big fan of that one. The Vaporfly 2, 3 again, I'm not a massive fan of Vaporfly 3. So I think it, for me, and the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, they would be like the shoes that I would pick if I was going to do, a race, or the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, obviously, since I talk about that all the time. Now I think I don't think there was any noticeable difference between me running in this shoe and those shoes now. I think if I'm doing Valencia, I'm trying to pick which shoe to go for, this could be one of them. Now I'd be happy to race in this shoe and think it is going to give me as much benefit as the other shoes as well. So I think it definitely is right up there at the moment. I would liken it probably to something like the Vaporfly 2. The feel of it. It's not as big as like the Alphafly 1. It's Alphafly 3 is probably a little bit more similar, but I'd class it as something like the Vaporfly 2, I think.
So, glowing endorsement, I think, from both of us at the half marathon distance for the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. In terms of other kit, so I actually had the Apple Watch Series 10 on, and I also had the Apple Watch Ultra 2, the kind of jet black version. Obviously not hugely different from the previous Ultra 2 from a kind of features point of view. I think kind of what I'd expected to see. I kind of had them on fully charged in the morning, saw a little bit more of a battery drop off with the Series 10 compared to the Ultra 2, which I had actually paired to heart rate monitor trash app. I'll get into a bit of more of a detail and throw some kind of screens in terms of how the tracks kind of matched up for that. I think in terms of matching up with the markers on the course, it generally was pretty fine at the beginning. I think there was a little bit of a lag with the Series 10, which is kind of what I expected to see, but it wasn't massively off, but it definitely felt like the Ultra 2 kind of nailed or was closer to that kind of distance for me. And battery life, was as I expected to see, a little bit more of a drop off from the Series 10. So yeah, and obviously we're going to be doing a full review of the Series 10, which will be coming up. So this will kind of factor in more of this testing and the testing that myself, Kieran, and Nick have been doing. And it feels like, from a smartwatch point of view, it was pretty solid overall.
I'm back.
He's back. After I've talked a little bit about Apple, and I'll talk about them a bit more in another video. But that was our take on the Manchester half, my second one, Tom's debut one. Thanks to Puma for giving us the spot in the race. And I think it's fair to say we're pretty happy with how the shoes performed and how the race was overall.